All right, we're at the studios of KRAE and KYOY with the Proietti boys, Larry Proietti and his son Nick. Good to see you guys.
Very nice to have you in the studio. Again, long time no see for both of Mike, our cameraman, as well as you.
And my first, at least, time interacting with you, Bob. So again, it was a pleasure to meet you for the first time.
Good to see you. Nick, you grew up here.
Yes, I certainly did. Born and raised here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I've kind of exited away from Cheyenne, whether it was for college or just kind of moving on for personal reasons, but moved back in August of 2017 to at least revive the role of sports director and kind of program director here at KRAE and KYY.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school at Cheyenne East, at least for high school. Went also to the Johnson Junior High in town, and then for college, I went to the University of Idaho up in Moscow.
Larry, you raised him well, huh?
I hope I did. You know, one of the nice things, you know, you look at, can you leave this legacy to somebody? And the interest that Nick has shown, and Nick's been with me, I don't know, 13, 14 years that he's engineered and done various duties around the radio station. The second time that Nick has come back and worked for me now, I just see this interest of making it better. And again, doing more things that Dad can't do.
He's got that radio voice like you do.
Sometimes people assume that I'm him at this point in time.
Well, if he has that voice, and it's unfortunate too, because he never met his grandfather. My father passed away well before Nick was born. Everybody said I sound like my dad. So if he sounds like me, I guess that's a tribute then to his grandfather as well.
And Larry, you've been doing this for at least 40 years, 30-something in Cheyenne.
Since 1986, yes.
I think you were with the KFBC for a while.
KFBC, I had the opportunity to help out Bob Rule when KRRR was in its infancy, so was on the ground floor for that. Then he eventually sold out to, at that time, would be Vic and Van Michael, who they had the properties which are now in the AMB building. So they took that property, they sold it off to a corporation out of New Hampshire. I worked for them for a little bit, and then ventured off of my own back in 2007.
KRRR was here, wasn't it, in this building?
KRRR was on the third floor back in the day, yes.
Let me ask you something. The format, KRAE, I want to talk about that for a second. Most of the music is 50s and 60s.
All music, 50s and 60s.
Yeah. I've heard some Three Dog Night on there, 1970s, hip hop.
69. We ended at 69. 55 through 69, the beginning of the rock era. You know, the Bill Haley and the Comet era, when the pop charts came into play, 50s. Up to 69.
Why do people listen to oldies?
I think the music is timeless. I think it's music that you sing along with. Again, the words are very discernible, and like you said, you're driving in your Ford Bronco, and you got the window down, and you want to sing along with the Beatles or the Beach Boys. But again, to me, that one was when music was music. Today's music, I have a hard time with. You know, as a matter of fact, about mid-90s up until today, I've kind of fallen out of favor with it. I don't like the way it's produced. I don't like the way it's sung. But you look back at even the middle of the road type of music. How many times have you heard Tony Bennett, I Left My Heart in San Francisco?
Love it.
You sing along with it. And again, there's so many ways to hear these songs. Besides on the radio, you'll hear Tony Bennett at a San Francisco Giants game. Or, you know, it's in a movie. And like you and me and Nick have discussed, if it wasn't for the movies like Stand By Me, La Bamba, the Sandlot, we were talking about American Graffiti, it's keeping these songs alive. And again, you and me, we're going to be gone, but this music will still live on.
Do people, I mean, this format here, do they listen to it because it reminds them of a happier time? Where a lot of baby boomers.
Right.
Born in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, up to 1964. They grew up with this music. They didn't have all these cares that they have today.
Right.
Responsibilities, grandchildren. That's all good. but it's a lot of responsibility, a lot of stress and tension in their lives. Whereas back then, does that remind them of a happier time?
I hope it does. It takes me back, and we had this discussion prior to the filming, when my mom had her coffee shop. I remember in Pittsburgh, California, all the politicos would be sitting at the front table. We had the Wurlitzer, and every month a guy would come in and check. He would swap out 45s and put in new 45s, and did we get the new Beatles song in, that type of deal. It's one of those deals too. It makes me always think of my parents. I miss my parents to this day. You sit there and you go back in time. The 60s, gasoline was about 29 cents a gallon. I remember going to the grocery store for my mom, getting stuff for her coffee shop. We had a radio station next door to us, KKIS, 990 on the AM dial back in the day. So again, yeah, a lot of memories are always associated when I flip on KRAE.
Did you have a transistor radio?
Absolutely.
Okay, you have. Nick, how do you deal with these oldies? Is that really not, I mean, you're 28, 29, it's really not your deal.
Well, again, we're being around him, being in this industry, whether it was starting at KFBC as well too, moving to KRRR. I've kind of moved where he's gone, especially in the radio industry, but it's something where as a child, I grew up with this. I didn't listen to a lot of the 90s or 2000 music. I was listening to 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I was listening to a lot of these, again, the Beach Boys, the Beatles, all these just fun songs. So it was never uncommon for me to enjoy this format, and I still do as this day, again, as I've taken over the role here at KRAE of enjoying this format, letting at least my age group know about it, and trying to introduce to them of, hey, this is where music kind of started, where this is the introductory of where we are now in 2019 with music. This is how it became. This is where the revolution started.
How does, and I'm going to jump around here a little bit, how does local radio in Cheyenne, because around Wyoming, how does it survive against podcasts, against websites, against satellite radio? I know, Larry, that you have some statistics here from the Wyoming Association of Broadcasters. I think you know them off the top of your head, but 77% of Wyoming residents listen to the radio at least once a week. You've got radio still the most used medium by Wyoming drivers, me. 83% listen to radio versus 34% listening to satellite. Radio is more important than the internet as a source for local news and weather emergencies. 35% of people listen to radio for local news, 25% look at the newspaper. Radio use at home. Now this was surprising to me. Ranks number one with 57% of Wyomingites listening to local broadcast radio. Those
Right.
are all.
I was asked this question many years ago. Are you concerned about satellite radio? I said, no. Satellite radio cannot perform the local duties. When the sky is black, satellite radio is not telling you, hey, take shelter. Now again, with today's technology, you're getting it on your phone, whatever the case may be, but you still have somebody behind the microphone letting you know from the National Weather Service office, we've got either a tornado warning, a thunderstorm warning. So again, that's the part of radio that's most important. We still are local. We're still there for the community. And again, we are still letting you know, hey, take cover. Most recently during the snowstorm, when announcers couldn't get to their place of business, I was here. I spent the night of the 14 inches of snow, so I could be here knowing that I would be on the air telling all of our listeners that, hey, business ABC is closed, the city is closed, the county is closed, so on and so forth. Again, with the national chains, they can't do that for you. If you look at, and I'll pick on one particular national, iHeart, their talent's not even located in Cheyenne. Their offices are not even in Cheyenne, but they give you the impression they are. But Larry Proietti, and I know there's another local broadcaster in town as well, they also will be behind the microphone to let you know, hey, everything's canceled today. Stay indoors. We got more snow coming. Whatever. I-80 is closed. I mean, I think that's the most important thing too, especially during bad weather, seasonal weather like we have in the winter, that we're here letting you know that you're not going anywhere. 80's closed. It's done. you know, get a place to stay or, you know, postpone it till tomorrow.
Well, and to carry off of that as well, too, not just weather alerts, but also to its local news, where, again, satellite radio, especially in New York City, is not going to know what's going on in Cheyenne, Wyoming, or at least report on that to its national audience. Instead, with us, it's, you know, whether it's local news, passing that along of what's happening here in the city of Cheyenne, the state of Wyoming, or at least in the Rocky Mountain region, even with sports of, hey, what's going on with our local high schools, what's going on with our local community college, and then as well, too, with what's happening at the University of Wyoming, give that personality, or at least give that info where no one else can do, at least in that national rank, where you need those local personalities. You need those local folks who are here in town to let you know what's happening in your town.
Does it tick you off when you hear these out-of-state stations trying to do a Cheyenne and they mispronounce?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
How bad does that tick you off?
It ticks me off to the point where here locally, and on both of my radio stations, KRAE and over in our sister station, KYOY, we have only local businesses on. Now, would I, you know, if a Home Depot or whatever says I'd like to advertise, sure, you know, we're not going to turn down the business. But our business is based on relationships with our customers. I have customers with me that have been advertising, gosh, in excess of 25 years with me. Those are relationships. And with a lot of our businesses today, I'm seeing in some cases second generations that are running the businesses. And again, we are there for them. You know, the business for me is to get Bob, Mike, Nick, to get you into those stores and see what the product's all about. And that's what we still do. It's the same thing here. We used to sell records when we were playing the Beach Boys and the Beatles. Hey, go to your favorite record store and buy the newest copy of the Beach Boys. And then it evolved into tape, and then it evolved into CDs. So you now have to go to FYE to buy your compact disc. That's what we're in the business. We're in the business to sell and to help you know, the advertiser, to help the music industry, help the, you know, the artists. But it, you know, getting back to the point, these out-of-state type of entities, you know, and again, I used the one major corporate here a little while ago. They walked away from a $70 million debt, and they filed Chapter 11. Now I have a couple of bank loans in town. See, if I try to walk away from that and not make a monthly payment, they're going to be on me like a cheap suit. But I make sure I pay my bills. But again, big corps can do that. I'm just a small little guy in a small. I still look at Cheyenne as a still small community, mom and pop.
Larry, you've been doing this out here for. I don't feel sorry for you. You're not a small little guy. You've been in radio here. Everybody knows you. 35, 36 years. My heart is not bleeding for you. I'm just kidding. I want to get back to lyrics real quick before I jump into another topic. The lyrics from the British invasion in '64, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Motown lyrics. And Larry, you said you got disenchanted with music in about the mid-'90s. The lyrics, Bob Dylan, Janis Joplin, right. Those people were like intellectuals, weren't they?
Yeah, they all had tones, messages. You know, it's interesting. Probably most of the music that we play now on 1480 KRAE, probably not politically correct by today's standards. If you think about it, if you listen to a lot of the songs, you think back to the Doors, Light My Fire, and you think back to the Ed Sullivan situation where they said, you can't use this lyric. Well, if you listen to some of the lyrics of any song, where it's, and again, not to, you know, make a big political thing out of this, but again, you know, some of the songs about women, songs of getting high, you know.
Brown Sugar, Rolling Stones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, these are not politically correct songs of the day, if we go by today's standards.
What about the rap stuff I hear? That doesn't seem
and that's probably one of the reasons why I got turned off by music in the mid-'90s, because I did not like the rap songs. And you will not hear a lot of rap. I think if I get any rap on my KYOI station, it's Will Smith.
Will Smith, Run DMC, you know, kind of fun stuff like that. But I think with the 50s and 60s, especially here on KRAE, it's a situation where it tells stories. And again, where you listen, it does, majority of songs do have deep meanings. It tells stories, it tells experiences of those artists, of those bands, of what they did in life back in the 50s and 60s. It gives you an understanding of just how things were at that time. So, and again, for my generation of 28, 29, or at least were again born in those 90s, not knowing of that time frame, you understand of what was life back then through those, at least lyrics, through those messages, through those, you know, those notes. It brings out kind of new emotions and new understanding, new appreciation for those times.
It's fun till the daddy takes the T-bird away.
Yeah, that's